Today on the Hopefulist, embracing our age. We can do it. A woman goes to the hospital for kidney stones and comes home with a triple threat. And what's on your bucket list?
Welcome to the Hopefulist, a daily talk show hosted by veteran broadcaster Wendy McClure. Join Wendy each day as she shares her life lessons that transformed her from perpetual pessimist to the ultimate hopefulist. The perfect morning show to get you caught up on the day's top stories while sharing insights that will lead to positive transformation and bring out the hopefulist in you. For more inspiration, visit hopefulist.com. And now, here's your host and hopefulist, Wendy McClure.
Good morning. It is Monday, August 19th, 2019. I hope you had a fantastic weekend and that you were safe in whatever you did. We actually had a horribly tragic event happen recently here in our little community. A huge loss to us all here at the Jersey Shore in the LBI area. A local business owner, Tim, started Surefire Grill, I'm going to guess about 5 or 6 years ago. I'm not really sure. Probably a little longer than that. He had opened a restaurant in Barnegat called Surefire Grill, and I have done many postings from this place. He specializes in kind of like a make-your-own burger. You go in and you pick the type of meat you want. If you want an Angus and like all of that kind of stuff, turkey, what have you. You pick your bun from like 10 different types of buns that they have. You pick the type of cheese you want. You pick the type of sauce that you want. They also have tater tots, which you know I'm such a huge tater tot fan. Excuse me. And Joe and I have been there a number of times throughout the last couple of years. He actually moved his Barnegat location to Manahawkin, and a couple of years ago he opened a second location on Long Beach Island. Been doing very well from what I understand. He's one of those guys that I don't really know him personally, but he would come and chat with us whenever we ate there. Just, you know, one of those owners that is just completely involved with every aspect of his business, and such a nice guy. And very, very unfortunately was, I guess, driving home from his Long Beach Island location on Thursday night and got into a car accident and was killed. 36 years old, 2 very small children, and a wife he leaves behind. And it has just left kind of a little hole in our community. What is nice to see is how everybody has rallied to help support this family at this devastating time. There was a list of businesses, probably about a page long, that donated a portion of their proceeds to the family over the weekend if you patronized their place of business. So the community's coming together for them, and that is always good to see. I hope it continues. They have a GoFundMe page as well. 36 years old, like I said. It's just such a jolt and such a shock. It's one of those reminders that every day counts. Life is short and it can be gone in a second. So hug your loved ones a little bit tighter today. Make sure you do something that will bring you joy today, because it's just, you just never know. Like I said, this has really rocked our community to its core. So I just wanted to mention that. And Tim, may you rest in peace, and your family. Oh, I can't even imagine what they're going through right now, but I'm so happy to see all of the wonderful support that they're getting at this time. So I just wanted to take a moment to say something about that. And I will get into now some other news, not so depressing, maybe a little shocking as well. There is a woman in South Dakota. She went to the hospital thinking she had kidney stones. No, she did not have kidney stones. She had 3 babies in her belly. 3 triplets. Now, I didn't think that triplets were all that common. I had thought that the run on twins and triplets and multiple births were basically a result of, in vitro and, all of these kind of procedures that people go through now that are having a tough time getting pregnant. Since she didn't know she was, I think they said 34 weeks pregnant and in labor when she showed up at the hospital, I'm guessing they weren't going through fertilization treatments, because I would think she would have been paying a little more closer attention to whether she was pregnant or not. How do you go 7 to 8 months? One, just without, getting your monthly visit. How does that sneak by you for 7 to 8 months and you don't even notice it? Now, she has 2 other children. I understand women are busy, but, this is kind of a thing that, after a month or 2, you're kind of like, where did that go? I don't know. It's baffling to me that somebody could be 34 weeks pregnant with triplets and not know. And they had her on the news and she was describing it. She said, she delivered the first 2 and there was this big lull. They didn't know there was a third one. The doctor said, oh, yeah, it's twins. So the 2 babies were born and they're like, wow, still in shock that they have 3 or 2 more kids at this point, and they're trying to come up with names. And all of a sudden the doctor says, oh, wow, we're going to need another blanket. She said her husband was like, no, put it back. No way. Can't do 3. Guess what? You're doing 3. So, obviously I know that people have multiple births naturally. But yeah, that's kind of crazy. Triplets. What are the odds? Kind of insane. So good luck to them. They said that their community has rallied around them and has supplied them with many baby supplies. So that's also nice to hear as well. So Joe and I went grocery shopping yesterday, and while we were standing in line, I was perusing the tabloid section, and something just jumped out at me. And, you know me, I have to point these things out because I just irks me how many women are like, what rights don't we have now? How are we not being treated the same as men? Here is a perfect example of how women are still treated completely differently from men. So I'm perusing the cover stories at the tabloids, and the first one I see is Lisa Marie Presley eating herself to death. All right. The next one I see is Paul McCartney, the secrets he's never told. Okay, a little bit of a difference in headline there. The next story I see, Meghan leaves Harry and takes the baby with her. Okay, at least it's not disparaging like Lisa Marie, poor thing. And then finally I notice a cover story on The Rock, a celebration of his films and the family man that he is. Have you noticed the disparity between the subject of the men versus the women? Lisa Marie eating herself to death. To death. Meghan, all about her man and her husband and what's going on with her love life. Paul McCartney, though, he has some secrets that everybody wants to know about in The Rock. We're going to celebrate him. Family man, his films. Ugh, makes me crazy. I'm not taking anything away from The Rock or Paul McCartney. I think they're great stories. I just wish that women had the same type of headlines underneath their picture on these types of magazines. So we all know that these types of magazines are usually very disparaging to anybody who's on it. So I'm not saying that men don't get their fair share. They do, but that just was kind of a glaring, disparity between the sexes to me. It makes me very sad that we're still in this place in the year 2019, that we cannot make women more about their own lives. It's still all about the men in their lives. Or if it's not about the men in their lives, it's about how they're eating themselves to death. That's what we want to know about. Not really. Not really. So I just had to get that off my chest. You know how I feel about this kind of stuff. And when I see something as glaring as that, I need to point it out. So I'm going to move on to some happier stuff. I'm a little depressing to you today, aren't I? I'm sorry. Just a couple of things I feel the need to discuss. Move on quickly. So we will talk about your bucket list, because this week we're talking about aging, how we can do it gracefully, how we can make the most of it, how we can embrace it. And I'm going to be talking about my blog post in just a few minutes. But I wanted to get to the topic that I had posted yesterday, and it's what is on your bucket list. Now, a lot of people went off with adventures and seeing places, and that's fine. I was looking when I posted the picture on it for something like skydiving or zip lining or something like that. I may consider zip lining at some point. I'm not skydiving. Too afraid of heights to do something like that. I'm even afraid to parasail, to be honest with you. Now, my husband, he went skydiving. It's still amazing to me. I just can't believe that he did that. He said he wouldn't do it again. But we do have pictures of him when he was free falling. So I'm surprised I didn't hear any of those things. But I wanted to, make sure that people knew that it was anything on your bucket list. So I had commented, I would like to go to a Super Bowl. That is on my bucket list. Preferably one with my Eagles, but not a requirement. And attend the Olympic Games. I would like to do those two things before I die. I have no plans to do either one. The Super Bowl is just so out of the realm of possibility now for the average Joe, as it has been for a long time. Now, when Joe and I first got married, lucky for me, the Giants went to the Super Bowl that year. I'm like, here I am married. The first year I'm married, I have to throw a Super Bowl party. I had considered getting tickets and going to that game. It was in Indianapolis that year, and I figured it was going to be like an 11-hour drive, but it was just straight west. Get on the Pennsylvania Turnpike, keep going until you hit Indy. And it would have been a pretty easy ride. We probably wouldn't have been able to find any lodging. We probably would have had to leave right after or, drive a couple hours and then hit a hotel or something. But it was doable. It was completely doable. And I looked into getting tickets on StubHub. They were about $5,000 a piece. A lot of money? Oh, yeah. Hells yeah. But I would have been willing to take the hit, put it on a credit card or something, which would have ended up costing me $15,000, I'm sure. I just figured it's one of those once in a lifetime things, and how great to not only go to a Super Bowl, but go to a Super Bowl when your team is in it. We ended up not being able to do it only for the fact that I wasn't sure I was going to be able to get off work the next day, which I ended up being able to get off work the next day. And then I always get very iffy with StubHub and any of those reselling ticket places, because I'm always afraid it's a fake. What if I paid $10,000 for these tickets and I get there and they were like, well, yeah, these are not real tickets. So then I'm out $10,000 and I don't even get to see the Super Bowl. That is one of my big fears when it comes to buying these, tickets that aren't real, like that aren't on the real site, put it that way. So when the Eagles were in the Super Bowl, I looked again. They were up to now, and the price goes up as the season continues. So, I didn't look. But at the same time I looked at the Giants tickets was right after they won the championship game. And so it was the Monday after. So it was 2 weeks to the Super Bowl. Same time when I looked into the Eagles tickets, they were $7,500 a piece. Like, you know what? I could have done $5,000, but I'm not paying $7,500 a ticket. That's $15,000. I could buy a boat. I could get my kitchen redone. Like, I just can't. So I don't know if I'll ever make it to a Super Bowl. I had considered trying to go to the one they had In New York a few years back, of course, it was freezing cold because it's an outside stadium. They have not had it at an outside